Welcome back to the Adventures in Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Gwen Montoya. If this is your first time listening, thank you so much for giving it a shot. I hope that you learned something today. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back. Your support and your lovely messages mean so much. So I really appreciate you being here today. Let's talk about how to get more sales from your website, because obviously you probably have a website, but maybe it's not getting sales in the way that you want. And I want you to have sales. I want you to grow. I want you to have success in your business. Our websites are our home base on the internet. I think that's one of the easiest ways to think about it is our website is one of the few places on the internet, if not the only, that we can completely control. We can decide what it looks like, the colors. There are no ads popping up unless we add them and we are monetizing in that way. But there's no distraction. There's nobody sending notifications that are popping up when somebody is looking. And that is a really huge benefit over something like social media. The other thing that we can tell from our website is where people are going when they are visiting our website. We can tell that through our analytics, and it is fantastic. And it is a really huge, important piece of understanding your marketing and understanding what's working and what's not. But today we're talking about your website. So instead of all the distractions on social media, our website is actually kind of an oasis where somebody can come and learn about us and click around and do it on their own time without distraction. When somebody comes to your website, they're making an F pattern. So they are going down one side of the screen and across the top. This is all things happening before we even realize it. Now, if you think about it, most websites are built in that heat map pattern, right? They go either down this side and then we have the top navigation along the top because that's where our eyes naturally go. And of course, on mobile, it's a little bit different, but I think it's really interesting to remember that people's eyes are naturally going to these places. So if every other website on the planet follows this pattern and yours doesn't, sometimes standing out can be good. Sometimes standing out just causes confusion and you lose your audience. So once somebody goes through that F pattern with their eyes, again, subconsciously, they don't even know that they're doing it. They will have enough information to decide, is this a place I want to stay? Is the information that I'm looking for here? Or do they want to go somewhere else because they can't find what they're looking for? When you are thinking about how your website looks, we want to make sure that it is meeting the common expectations so that people can know that you have what they're looking for. Okay, so how do you make sure that you have the information that somebody is looking for? Number one, if there is something important, something that you want somebody to pay attention to, it needs to go at the top of your website. Don't bury it. Don't make them hunt to find it. If there is a book now or a buy now button, that needs to go at the top so that it can be found. Now, obviously, the book now or the buy now button has other places that it can go. But if one of the main goals of your website is for you to get people to book either a consult with you or to set up an appointment, we want to make that button really big and really easy to find. Otherwise, they may get lost trying to find it. The other thing to keep in mind is that when somebody lands on your website, you have not even a full second, not even a full half a second. It is so fast for somebody to decide whether or not you have what they're looking for. And this is why a really good hero image and a really good tagline can be really helpful so that people immediately know, yes, they are in the right spot. You are the one to help them. You are going to either answer their questions or sell them the thing that they need. If you're a business that uses a book now call or a book consult, something like that, I like to put that right in the header because anytime you make a new page, that header is part of the page template. So it will always be there, which means if you ever add a new service or you add a product page or you add another page about your business, it will always be there in the header and you don't have to remember to do it, which is great because anytime we can remove decision-making from us as business owners, I'm a huge fan. You don't have to remember it. It will automatically be there. Or maybe you're a product business and there are featured products that you want people to really pay attention to. Make it easy for them to find those featured products. Don't bury your products. Don't make them go through a ton of menus. Make it really easy for them to buy from you. If they get frustrated, if they get confused, if they can't find what they're looking for, they will go somewhere else because they have been to your site, they have looked around, they couldn't find what they were looking for, and they went away. The likelihood of them coming back is incredibly low. We also don't want to overwhelm our audience. So we have our top navigation where we have our home and our about and maybe a services drop down or a shop drop down, however your business is set up. But if you add too many features or too many options right at the top, you're going to confuse people. And obviously, our homepage is a really great way to shuffle people to the pages that they want to go to. Our homepage is a great place to start, and then they can use our navigation to go to other pages. But if every time they tap a drop down, there's 20 new options, they are going to hit decision fatigue very, very quickly. So even though you may have a lot of really great pages on your website that you want people to see, be really clear about the path that you want them to take through your website. If you have products, give somebody 3 to 5 big topic categories that they can then go into your website and get deeper into your different subcategories and your different products and offers. If you try to put all of those from your main navigation, your people are going to get lost and they're not going to understand what you want them to do, and they will go somewhere else. Services, I am not forgetting you. You can also fall into this trap by trying to list all of the things that you can do for somebody right from your homepage. It can be really overwhelming. And I say this as somebody who did this to my own website. I had 10 different things listed because I can do a lot of things. There's a lot of things in my wheelhouse. But what I found when I was talking to people is I would get on the phone with them and they would be so confused as to what I offered that they couldn't even figure out a place to start. So instead, again, think of those 2 to 3 high-level things that you can do with somebody, and then you can always go deeper and you can always have a conversation with somebody to get them to the right package or to have that conversation to help them figure out how you can work together. But if you try to list everything, they're not going to understand what you want from them and they're going to get confused. And again, instead of being really excited to work with you, they're going to feel confused. And we don't want our audience to feel confused ever. We don't want that. Think of it this way. Your homepage should direct somebody to the next step. Your homepage cannot direct somebody to every single step on your website. It just doesn't work that way. You want them to go from your homepage to a page or a couple of pages on your website, and then they can click around. But what about beyond your homepage? What if your homepage is perfect and you're still not getting sales? There's a couple of things that we can look at. Number one, we want to look at building trust. When somebody makes a purchase, especially online, they can't touch the product. They're not necessarily talking to you directly, at least not at this stage. The trust part is really important when it comes to a website because there are so many websites out there that if you don't build trust, if you don't inspire confidence for your audience, again, I've said this like 25 times already, they will go somewhere else where it makes it easier for them to make a purchase. How do we build trust? How do we let somebody who is coming to our website for the very first time know that we are their person, we are the one who is going to be able to help them, and they're going to be so thrilled to work with us? Some of it is going to be branding. So that is your colors and your fonts and the photos that you use. All of that subconsciously does have an impact, and it's something to think about when you are selecting those photos. And there's a whole bunch of things that you can get into with color theory that is really interesting about how colors impact us and how we make these decisions. Again, just like, you have less than a half a second for somebody to decide if this page is what they're looking for. It's also really important for us as business owners to be aware so that we can help guide our audience. Some other things to be aware of. If you have broken links on your site, we want to fix those. If somebody clicks on a broken link, again, this is building trust. This is building confidence. Somebody can't have confidence that you are going to be their person if they click on a link and it is broken. They are going to feel frustrated. They're going to feel confused. It's going to cause what I like to call a little speed bump, kind of like when you're driving in a parking lot and you don't see the speed bump and you hit it and your whole car shakes. It's that kind of speed bump. And sometimes the speed bumps can be really subtle and they don't even realize that, oh, this is causing a little bit of friction. This is causing a little bit of distrust. I don't think that this is where I want to be. That also happens when the copy or the imagery or the fonts and the colors, all of that doesn't align with what somebody is expecting to see from us, or if it is something that they expect to see and they don't see it. So those kinds of things, again, they happen very, very quickly. They happen subconsciously. But as business owners who are communicating through a website, that's an important thing to keep in mind. Another way that we build trust is, again, I said with the copy, but let's go a little bit deeper into that. The copy, meaning the messaging. What are you saying? What are the words and phrases that you are saying on your copy so that your audience knows that you are the person that they want to work with or that they want to buy from? There's a couple of ways that we can make sure that we are in alignment with that. We have to be aware of the words and phrases that our audience is using. If, for example, you always refer to something as the color blue and everybody else in the world calls it periwinkle, which is a weird example, but we're going to stick with it. If you are calling it blue and everybody else is searching for periwinkle, they're not going to find your thing because you're calling it blue and they're calling it periwinkle. Another example, let's do shapes. If you're not a color person, let's say you always refer to something as a circle, somebody else always refers to it as an oval. If the rest of the world is calling the thing that you sell an oval, there's going to be a disconnect and people aren't going to be able to find you, not only from an SEO perspective, but when they land on your website and they are seeing the wrong words that they don't associate with what you offer, you're going to cause confusion, and they will go to some place where they are more sure that this is the person that they want to work with. This person has the materials that they want, they have the products, they have the services. So just be really aware and listen to what your audience is saying when they talk about what you do and what you offer. If you are confused about how people talk about what you do, what kinds of words and phrases you should be using, look at your FAQs, look at the questions that you answer a lot. Look at the things that people are challenged by when they come. And I love using FAQs because your audience is literally right there using the words and phrases for you because they're saying, this is the question that I have. Can you answer it? Another way to find how people talk about it is to listen, go to groups, go to places where people talk about what you offer, talk about your services, listen to how they're talking about not just what they struggle with, but the actual words that they're using to describe. As business owners, it's really easy for us to want to focus on the sale. It's why we're in business, right? We're in business to make sales. What we have to remember that our audience doesn't necessarily care about whether or not we make sales. They care about whether or not we can answer their questions, whether or not we are going to solve their problem. So when you are thinking about what words and phrases to put on your website, obviously we want people to buy, we want to direct them to where they can buy things, but they also have to trust that we are going to have their solutions. So if we go in too hard with buying, if we go in too hard with purchasing, and we don't lead them down the path of understanding that we can help them, they will go somewhere else to somebody who does. Now that we've made your website maybe a little bit more appealing, a little bit clearer to somebody who is coming to your website to help them understand that you can help them and you are going to get them what they need and they're going to feel great working with you. The next question is, who is on your website? What kind of traffic are you getting? And is it the right traffic? There is some traffic that you will get to your website and they will be in research mode. They're just gathering information. Maybe they will eventually come back to work with you. Maybe they will never come back. And then there's another type of buyer who is ready to buy. They have done their research. Maybe they've researched other people and now they're coming to you. And then there's also traffic that comes because we shared something on social media and we sent them a link to our site and it seemed really interesting. So we have to understand that not every single website visitor is going to turn into a sale. We can understand your traffic by looking at your analytics. We do have analytics that show us where somebody goes on a page, how long they stay on a page, what they're clicking on, where they are coming from off of your page. All of these different information can help us better understand what that audience is looking for and why they're there. And when we understand what somebody is looking for and why they're on our site, and if they are leaving because they're not seeing it, we can then make a decision to put that information on our site so that we don't lose that audience. That's what we can do with analytics. It's really cool. So here's some things to think about. When you look at your analytics, is somebody coming to your website and then leaving right away? There could be a couple of reasons for that. Maybe you shared a really great blog post and somebody comes and they just look at your blog post and that's all they need and they go away. Maybe somebody is going to your sales page or they're going to your product page and you can see the traffic coming from your homepage and going to a specific sales page, but you're not getting any sales. We can then look at that and think, what can be improved on this page? What can make this page a better and more effective sales tool? And why isn't it working now? And it could be, maybe you need more product description. Maybe the sales copy is unclear. Maybe your link page is broken and nobody can go further and they just leave, right? All of these things can be learned when we look at our analytics. But if you're not looking at your analytics, you miss all of this really juicy information that we can make decisions about. We can also look at where people drop off your website. Maybe they come into your homepage and they go to a couple of pages and then they always leave on a certain page. We can make some educated guesses based on your business, based on what you know about your audience, based on a lot of information, and think, how can we help somebody stay on this page? What is it about this page that is causing somebody to say, that's actually all they needed? Maybe it's a good thing that that's all they needed. Maybe it's a download and they signed up for your email and then they leave. But until we look at it, we don't know. We can't tell. So that's why it's so important to have analytics and to actually look at them. If on the other hand, you're not even getting website traffic, that's an entirely different question. So let's talk about that too. So if you're not getting any traffic to your website at all, and again, you can't tell that without looking at your analytics. Don't just depend on your sales to see if you're getting traffic. If you're getting zero traffic to your website, there are some technical things that you can look at to make sure that your website is actually showing up, to make sure that there's not something funky going on. So I always suggest you start there. Beyond that, how are you getting traffic to your website? Because it is not enough to put up a website and expect a ton of traffic to flock to it. It just doesn't work that way. We also have to do some of the legwork. And obviously things like SEO can have a really big impact, but that takes time. And you have to be promoting your site as much as you want sales from your site. It's just the way it goes, especially in the beginning, especially if you're not getting sales from your website right now. You have to do a lot more promotion to get people to your site. So here are some quick ways to send people to your website if you are not having any traffic, or you feel like maybe you should have more traffic than you're having. Number one, an email list. You can send people on your email list to your website to look at specific products, to look at specific offers, to look at specific blog posts. All of that is a really good way to keep an audience that has already shown that they're interested in what you have, engaged in what you have on your website. Social media, the link in bio, and then also using something like the link in Reels and talking about what you have on your website to direct people there is another way to get traffic to your website. SEO, obviously that's a long game, but that has an impact. You can run ads, although if you are not getting any traffic to your website and you are getting no sales, I don't think that ads is probably where you should start. I think there's other places to start that make more sense. There's also PR, getting covered by the news, getting press. There's also guest posting on other people's blog posts and other types of collabs. All of these can bring traffic to your website and they can be really impactful, but it depends on what your traffic strategy is and what your long-term goals are. If you are not a writer, then going after blog posts and guesting on other people's blog posts makes zero sense for you because you're just going to feel frustrated and you're not going to enjoy it. And I want you to enjoy your marketing. And like I said earlier, is the right traffic coming to your website? So as an example, I'm a marketing strategist. I've been doing marketing for a really long time, but I don't market to other marketing people. I don't market to social media managers because they're not my intended audience. But if for whatever reason I wrote a blog post that was really attractive to them and they wanted to come read it, it's traffic to my website, right? That's great, but it's not traffic that's going to convert for me because those people already know what I do. They already know how to do the things that I would do for them. So they don't need me. But if I write a blog post that is really, really helpful and targeted for small business owners, which is one of the things that I do, so go check out my blogs, that makes more sense for me. That's a good place for me to spend my time. It makes sense for me to send people on my Instagram stories to my shop to look at my mini courses, for example, because it's an easy, low-cost way for somebody to learn more, like literally learn more about marketing, and it gets them to my site. And they might not go anywhere else, but that's okay because that traffic was directed to a specific spot and I did it on purpose. So when you are thinking about what kind of traffic you want to get to your site and you're being more intentional about promoting your site to get traffic, make sure that your audience is aligned with who you are, what you sell, and are interested in, even if they're not ready to buy yet, interested in learning more about you because you will attract some audience members who are just in research mode. They just want to learn more. They're maybe not quite ready to make a purchase, but that's why we get them on your email list so that you can market to them that way. I mentioned a couple of times that not every website visitor is going to be a sale. I want to talk about conversion rates and I want to talk about some hard numbers around this because we do have that data. And I think it's really helpful to have actual numbers that you can shoot for because it can be really easy to assume that somebody else has a ton of traffic. They have a ton of followers. They're making all of these sales. And then we feel like we're the failures and we feel like we're the ones who are doing it wrong when there's a million things that could just need to be tweaked. They could just need to be adjusted a little bit or a lot of stuff can be happening. On average, website conversion rates are around 3.5%. And e-commerce goes even lower, like closer to like 1.2%. And those conversions, they're not always sales. I think it's really helpful to remember that conversion can mean different things. And even getting your audience to do the thing that you want them to do can be a huge win, especially if you're just starting or you're trying to untangle some messy marketing things. Getting your audience at least on the right path is a really good place to start. So let's break those numbers down. What does that actually mean? What does a 3.5 conversion rate look like on an actual website? So in theory, if you have a regular website, for every 1,000 visitors that you have, 35 should take some kind of action depending on what you want them to do. So maybe they make a sale, maybe they sign up for your email list, maybe they click on a page that you wanted them to click on. If it's e-commerce, it's a little bit harder and there's a lot that goes into that. But for every 1,000 visitors, 12 people should do something roughly for e-commerce. So when we're thinking about that, it's really helpful to realize that when not every audience member makes a purchase, it means we have to get traffic to our website. It is not enough to send 5 people to your website. You have to send more people to your website. And of course, if you are sending the completely wrong kind of traffic to your website who is not interested in what you have or does not connect with what you're offering, or your words and phrases are not helping them understand that you can help them, that's going to be even lower. So when you're thinking about turning your website into a sales machine, you have to think about what your audience is looking for. Are they going to find it on your website in a way that is really clear to them and in a way that meets their expectations? As we wrap up, another thing that I want to mention is that when we are talking about your website and turning it into a sales tool for you, it is one part of a bigger piece of marketing strategy. A common challenge I see for small business owners is they put up their website and they expect traffic to just magically appear. And that is very rarely the way that it works. Even big companies like Target and like Amazon are running ads. They are still working hard to get people to their website. So if these massive mega billion corporations are spending advertising to get people to their website, that means you as a small business owner, obviously you're not spending billions to get people to your website, but you do have to spend time and effort into directing people to your website. It is not passive. It is not something that you set it and forget it and never have to look at it again. Marketing your website is part of your overall marketing strategy that includes your email marketing and your social media and any collaborations that you do and all of the things that go into making sure that people know what you have to offer and how they can get. So to wrap up, when we're talking about getting more traffic to our website and getting more sales from our website, it is really important to think about who we are attracting and does the person that we're attracting resonate with what we say on our website, or is there a disconnect there? Because again, and I've said this 100 times today, if there's a disconnect, they'll go somewhere else. It is also really important to make sure that your website is easy to navigate, it is easy to use, that your audience doesn't get lost, that they can find what they're looking for. Our audience doesn't care that we want to make sales. They care that we are going to solve their problem or that we have the thing that they need. And again, not every person who comes to your website is going to make a sale. They're not ready, they're not in a position, they don't have the money, they're in research mode, all of those things. If somebody comes to your website and they don't make a sale, how are you going to connect with them again? Because we can't send them an email if we don't have their email address. So one of the best things that you can do to build your email list and to keep your traffic that already came to your website, already expressed interest, to keep them more interested is to invite them to join your email list. There's a lot of ways to do that. And I will put some links to help you do that in the description. So make sure you check those out too. And finally, when you're thinking about long-term website traffic, long-term business growth, long-term marketing plans, if somebody comes to your website and they do make a purchase, yay, fantastic. What is the next step? How do you keep them in the loop? How do you market to them after they've made a purchase? Because for almost all of our businesses, there is a benefit to having return customers and to having a raving fan base that loves to hear from you. So don't forget that part too. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you being here. You can reach me at Gwen Montoya if you have any questions, or you can go to my website to learn more about working with me.